You know what's also going to be a fun day?
What up, though?
When Cade signs that contract.
Ooh.
The question is when, and what's the Nick price? What's the right price? Do you think they're going to offer it? Should they offer him? Let's just cut it. I gotta make sure I wash my mouth in here.
Yeah.
We're in a public place. Cade should get the max. It seems like you're a supporter of that. Is that because he's earned it because of his play in the court? Is that because this is the right timeline for that to happen, combined with the belief that he is the future of this team? What are the reasons for doing it this summer?
Yeah, a lot of it is going to have to do with the belief that you have in him as a player and who you believe he can be if you build around him appropriately. So if you're giving him the max, you're making a commitment to going out there within this window of time and making sure that you have an opportunity to not just make the playoffs, but be a serious contender within these playoffs within those 5 years. Because you're not giving him this contract to just say, you know what, goodbye on the next one. You're hoping that this is somebody that you can build around long term, have some type of longevity beyond even this next contract. That's what you want to see out of a Cade Cunningham. Nobody goes into these situations and says, you know what, we want a guy that can be here just for a couple years that we can trade, and we sign him to the max. Because if you don't believe in him, but you give him that max, how are you trading him? If you think that he's not that guy, if you're just looking to flip him. So there has to be this extreme belief in him, and then I hope it signals that this team is going to move rather expeditiously to get something built up around him, which has been lacking his entire rookie contract. He has not had anything built up around him. Flannel did a good job on, I think, 2 shows ago, kind of breaking down what Cade Cunningham has and hasn't had to kind of dispel that notion of what the team is or isn't without him. The team has had better talent on the court when Cade has been injured, and when he hasn't been injured, most of that other talent has been injured. That's kind of been this ebb and flow as it relates to Cade Cunningham. Get him something reliable. That's what this max contract represents. It's about a belief in who you believe Cade Cunningham to be and what you believe your team is going to be if you build around him.
You know, we talk a lot about the Tigers looking to find that foundation, find out who their core players are to build around. That's part of the patience, we'll call it, of Scott Harris, not to make any drastic changes yet. That's at least the route I'm taking to defend the slowness of making a significant move. Is that – I know the Pistons have had a worse stretch or a worse season, but are they in a better situation – not a better situation than the Tigers, but they're in a good situation knowing that Cade Cunningham is that foundation, is that core. Yeah. Now they just need to build around him, and to do that, you got to solidify it with that contract first.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Definitely. And I think it helps him feel comfortable. And during the exit interviews, Cade Cunningham had a lot to say about it. He did say, yeah, I'm already thinking about that contract. He said, I'd be lying to y'all if I wasn't. He's like, but, knock on wood, I got to make sure that I do what I have to do in terms of improving as a basketball player, making sure that my health and my stamina on the court and how many games I play a year improves, put myself in the best possible position. But he also mentioned this. This is his first offseason. He gets to just go in and not worry about rehabbing, not worry about coming back from injury. He just gets to go out there and focus on getting better as a basketball player for the first time in his NBA career. He's expecting even bigger things. I know that a lot of people, they scoff at what he did this season because of the team's record, but he took the necessary jumps forward. When we all talked about the types of jumps we wanted to see plus 5 points in the scoring. He went from 17 to 22. He did it. We wanted to see the assist stay about the same. The assist-to-turnover ratio it aligns with some of the other top guards in the league. He was top 10 in assists as well, top 10 in potential assists. He showed the necessary improvement, and he showed that if you put the right players around him, he's the type of guard that is looking to distribute, get his teammates the ball, get them involved, and really try and be not just a leader but a coach on the court as well.
Two questions I have for you, Kool-Aid.
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you if you're concerned about these two. Are you concerned about injuries at all? Do you consider him injury prone? I know you probably don't have behind the scenes medical information, but is that something fans should be worried about? Also, are turnovers something to be worried about? Actually, I'll let you answer that first.
And state it one more time. The turnovers I heard, and what was the first question?
The first one, are you worried about injury concerns long term? Is he considered an injury prone player around the league, or are we just hyper focused on it? Am I just hyper-focused on that because the Pistons have struggled the last 2 years and he's been hurt?
Well, the struggles are kind of a part of it as well. When you have a team that's struggling, what you're not going to do is send your prized possession out there to say, you know what, no, we need you to play every game. If you know who he is, sometimes you're going to have some aspect of load management that goes into it. The surgery he had is to make sure that long-term he's going to be a guy that's going to be on the court a lot more than he has been. But early on after that surgery, you don't want to necessarily run him out there for the full gauntlet of an 82-game season. So you're going to want him to, a year after having the surgery, probably take it a little bit easy.
Okay.
Maybe play 50 games, maybe play 60 games. And that's what we saw this year. And it was kind of that's what it was. The doctors who suggested that this is the operation he gets, they said long-term he'll have no complications.
Nice.
But obviously early on it's a situation where you want to treat it with the opportunity to fully heal and have that strength there. And that's what he's looking forward to. I think for Cade Cunningham, it was all about being able to get to this offseason healthy. Being able to get to this offseason knowing you can go 100% and put yourself in a position to do things like, you know what, like he said it.
Yeah.
At the exit interviews. I need to cut down on these turnovers. I need to get tighter with my handles. It was cool to see him kind of taking responsibility. To Matthew Kruger's point, Cade Cunningham also said he needs to get better defensively. So it was awesome to see that he's going into this offseason working on his deficiencies. And to the tune of those turnovers, he did get better as the year went on. Obviously, to start the year, those turnovers were sitting at about 5.4 a game. As the year went on, those came down to about 3 a game and put him kind of in league with some of the other top point guards in the league as it relates to turnovers.
When you have the ball in your hand so much and you're the team's primary playmaker.
55% true usage. That's insane.
And that's what we're seeing with Caitlin Clark, too. Like, she's just got the ball in her hands more, and the game is fast still. Although Cade, he's able to slow it down. It's still fast for a young player, and you're going to make turnovers. What I want to ask you, though, is the decision-making when it comes to putting pieces around Cade.
Yeah.
Who's it going to be? Because there's a name. There's a name that's been floating around. Does it make sense to bring in a former Gary player for the Pistons? Does it make sense to bring in Tayshaun Prince as the team's new GM?
You know what? I would love it. We've talked about it on this show as well. I remember we say, listen, if the Pistons are serious, go out there and get a person like Tayshaun Prince. Go out there and appeal to somebody who knows and understands what Detroit basketball actually is, the history. Because it's not just what those former teams were. It was the relationship between those players and those fans.
Facts.
And making sure that you don't let them down. To have a person who understands how our heart beats in that front office, to understand, you know what, even if I'm not the president of basketball operations, he was the vice president of basketball affairs with the Grizzlies. So he does come with more than just GM experience, but with a lot more of that front office executive experience as well. He's a person that can carry a lot of weight if he's in that Detroit Pistons front office. And honestly, we don't know exactly what he's been responsible for, which moves with the Grizzlies, but we know that they've had a lot of success and they've had a decent rise while Tayshaun Prince has been within that front office. And he's held within high regard, not just there, but across the league as a front office executive. Tayshaun Prince, to me, would be a fantastic hire, and it would make me ultimately feel very comfortable about this Trajan Langdon kind of era that's about to begin.
That seems like a savvy move to me, a good
That would
move
be awesome.
for a new president of basketball operations.
Bring Tayshaun Prince home.
Yeah, that's exactly what Rake said. Bring him home. Chuck Brewer says, can Prince play some 3 for us? Grama says Pistons blood. I'm seeing a lot. All Rando Smalls, all for bringing Tayshaun home.
Yep.
Hey, I'm a fan. We're going to break it down a little bit more as these decisions start to come out. I'm excited to hear you break it down for us. But just looking from a bird's eye perspective, I like the idea of Tayshaun being back in a leadership position for this team.
Nonsense. When you remember Tayshaun Prince's second stint with the Detroit Pistons, he was a guy who didn't get in the mess. He was a guy who stood on the outside of that, tried to be a leader, and he didn't have a problem calling out stuff when he had to call it out. That's where the famous saying buffoonery came from. The buffoonery years of the Detroit Pistons. It was Tayshaun Prince who actually uttered the phrase to the media because he was like, you know what, we got to be better.
Got to.
And it's like, you know, it was awesome to see him as a vet during that second stint and to see the type of charisma and character that he carried. I would love to be able to see that in the front office where I believe that these young players that we have here and any talent coming in, they're going to need structure. Think about how important it was to have a person on the team at the end of the season like a Taj Gibson. Like Taj Gibson was getting airtime just because of the effect he was supposedly having on these young players because they didn't have that type of leadership, that veteran leadership and structure within the organization or on the court.
They were trying to make Taj Udonis Haslam, which I think they need, but
he wasn't even bad at the job either.
I know,
I can't even hate on it, but it was just like you still won sub 20 games.